Hello, my name is Vincent Borny. I'm currently working towards obtaining my master's in entertainment business with Full Sail Online. Woo! Today I'm going to talk about Peter Grant, the manager of the legendary rock group Led Zeppelin. Now, besides Peter Grant being the force behind the band's success historically, musically, and financially, Grant was essentially the one responsible for the band to come together in the first place. He's a London native, and as a teenager, his family was facing financial hardships. This led him to quit school, and he began working as a factory worker. Shortly after that, he worked as a Fleet Street messenger, then he served in the British Army, and then he worked as a bouncer and a South London wrestler. A huge human being, 6'5", 250 pounds, very intimidating. He always had a my way or no way approach when it came to business. The start of Peter Grant's career in the music industry was in the early 1960s, where a music promoter by the name of Don Arden, also known as the Al Capone of Pop, took a young Peter Grant under his wing. Arden showed Grant how a tough reputation could be almost as effective as the use of physical force when dealing with people and situations. Arden explained to a young Peter Grant that people don't always keep their promises when money comes into play. With Arden's experience with some people in the industry, he gave Grant a list of people who were good. This included mostly music promoters and an additional list of people who can't be trusted. Eventually, this so-called apprenticeship led Don Arden to hire Peter as a tour manager. It was during this time that Grant was first introduced into the works of artist management. These works included American acts such as Bo Diddley, Little Richard, and Chuck Berry, in addition to the Everly Brothers, Gene Vincent, and Brian Hyland. During these early years of his career, Grant soon realized how important it is to be upfront with people and to never let anyone take advantage of the artist. The Everly Brothers remembers him as the best road manager we ever had. In the book, Peter Grant, The Man Who Led Zeppelin, it shares how fearless Peter Grant was, explaining how he went great lengths to save his artists, saving them from frantic fans, but most of the time from themselves. One time, Grant disarmed Gene Vincent when the singer was waving around a loaded gun during what the author of the book, Chris Welsh, calls a drunken rampage. One night while in Newcastle, Peter Grant met a band called the Alan Price Rhythm and Blues Combo. He signed them to a contract, became their booking agent and co-manager. Mike Jeffrey was the main manager. Mike Jeffrey, as a side note, is the same guy known for being Jimi Hendrix's manager in the UK. Once Peter Grant came on board, this led to the Alan Price Rhythm and Blues Combo to change their name to the Animals. House of the Rising Sun was their number one single in 1964. In the mid-60s, a band consisting of Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, and Chris Dreja, calling themselves the Yardbirds, were touring America with much success musically, but the band was still struggling to eat. Facing much financial difficulty, this was because of poor management. Word of this got around, and in 1968, Peter Grant took over management duties for the Yardbirds. But because of the exhaustion prior to Peter Grant taking over, the band decided to call it quits. Former Yardbird Chris Dreja said, "The best manager we ever had was Peter Grant. Peter would almost die for his artists," in an article by Consequence of Sound. After the Yardbirds broke up, most of the members went on to do other musical endeavors, but Peter Grant continued to support guitarist and original Yardbird band member Jimmy Page and encouraged him to form a new group, the New Yardbirds, consisting of other musicians such as lead singer Robert Plant, John Bonham on the drums, and John Paul Jones on the keyboard. Not giving the thought of a new band name, they kept it basically the same because they had to fulfill some performance commitments that they had booked prior to the original band breaking up. They called themselves the New Yardbirds for a short while before they became Led Zeppelin. Though there are many stories attempting to claim the origin of the name Led Zeppelin, an article by the Rolling Stone suggests that during a studio session with Who's drummer Keith Moon and Who bassist John Entwistle, Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, and former Yardbird guitarist Jeff Beck were working on an instrumental called Beck's Bolero. After finishing the track, they were conversing about forming a new band. Keith Moon allegedly said that the band would go over like a Led Zeppelin, or in other words, a lead balloon. Page remembered the joke 2 years later, and after dropping the A in lead, knowing that many people would think of it as lead, Led Zeppelin officially began in 1968. Chris Welsh, author of Peter Grant, the man who led Zeppelin, mentions that Grant understood better than anyone that a new phenomenon required special treatment. Though Peter Grant was never seen in the spotlight like other artist managers, he has been referred to as the fifth member of Led Zeppelin. In the book Artist Management for the Music Business, Paul Allen stresses that it's important that a manager of a recording artist or band, that you must genuinely believe in the artist for who they are as an artist. There is no deeper belief and commitment to an artist than Peter Grant was to Led Zeppelin. Because of their strong bond believing in each other, this resulted in very little to no conflict when it came to assemble a tour. For example, Grant would handle most tasks within the tour management and artist management side of things, but left the creativeness of the actual assemblies up to the band. Peter Grant being an icon to the music business, many things that are still financially beneficial for artists, bands, and creators were created and or enhanced because of Peter Grant's time being the manager of one of the biggest rock and roll bands of all time. Here are some things that I believe are lessons learned while I was researching Peter Grant, and quite frankly, they all seem to go hand in hand. First things first, you must believe in the artist or band that you're managing. Today's music industry is not like it was in the 60s. Everybody can create music and create a buzz using the internet and social media, but it's more important to recognize pure talent. Time is money, and don't waste your time. Think big. Secondly, because you believe in the music, it becomes a part of you. Your artist's passions and dreams need to become your passions and dreams as well. As a manager, you will feel the need to stick your neck out on the line for your artists or bands. For example, in this segment of the documentary, The Song Remains the Same, it shows how much Peter Grant was against bootlegging. Grant was always making it a regular chore to visit record stores in person. He would then demand that all illegal copies of Zeppelin's records, concert video recordings, and even pirated posters to be destroyed. Aside from this taking money out of everybody's pockets, I think it's safe to say that Peter Grant took this bootlegging issue very personal. In today's industry, it would be more so a bigger focus on illegal file sharing. Thirdly, I think it's important to show your artist or band that you genuinely care for them and that you want them to succeed. I like to think of it more so as how you would with a family or a loved one. You know, you always have to prove to them constantly, every time you're with them, that you genuinely care. Peter Grant showed this by being extremely aggressive and usually violent had he felt that someone was trying to take advantage of his Led Zeppelin. Though I believe that you need to be somewhat strong physically no matter what job you obtain within any kind of industry, it's much more important to focus on becoming mentally strong, knowing everything about your position, understanding your industry, and being open for constant learning and growth. While applying what you learn will give you diversification and it will destroy any obstacle that comes your way. Peter Grant treated Led Zeppelin how he saw them, one of a kind, different from any other musical act that he had ever worked with. Because of their trust between each other, resembling more like a family rather than a typical manager-band relationship, this led to change the world of music forever, setting new industry standards in the music studio, into performing shows, and even legal paperwork. In 1980, Led Zeppelin's drummer John Bonham suddenly passed away, and this led to the band breaking up and Peter Grant to retire from the music business. Unfortunately, 15 years later, while driving home in the afternoon, Peter Grant died from a heart attack at the age of 60. And though he's no longer with us, everything that he's ever done will always be remembered and will always be studied for future managers, future bands, artists. Anybody in the music industry can learn something from Peter Grant. Once again, my name is Vincent Borny, and thank you for your time.